What's up, everybody? We'd like to welcome you guys to episode 245 of the War Room. We got a jam-packed episode for you guys. We talk a lot about the Philadelphia Eagles and what they've been doing in the free agent signing period. Chip Kelly is really trying to put a stamp on this team. Other than that, we have a lot of guests to bring to you guys. The first guest we talked to was Rodney Flowers. He suffered a traumatic injury to his spinal cord back in '93 in a high school football game. Doctors told him he'd never walk again. 20 plus years later, not only is he walking, but he's living life to the fullest. He has a really inspirational and courageous story, and he just wrote a book entitled Get Up, I Can't, I Will, I Did, Here's How. So make sure you tune in, listen to our interview with Rodney, find out where you can buy that book, and just get a piece of that inspirational story. Later in the show, we talk with Shane Gray of CBS Sports Radio 920 in St. Louis. We talked to him about the St. Louis perspective of the Sam Bradford, Nick Foles trade that was made a few days ago at the start of free agency. And lastly, we speak with Andrew Smith, Esquire. He's running for the executive director position, held right now by DeMaurice Smith of the NFL Players Association. So look, man, sit back, relax, get your popcorn, buckle your seatbelt. Episode 245 of the War Room begins now.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the War Room. We got Dev, Kill, Jimmy, PJ, B. Austin, the Hot Block Commander. Give it to you how you want it in a 1 or 2 hour show to keep the brain running with the premise to talk sports on a national level. Bold with the topics, sorta like some rebels. When it's game time, they like the Fab Five during prime time. Sports conglomerate to speak their minds a little bit. For sports medicine and sports veterans and greats. The 4th and 26th, or the war in Kuwait. It's the War Room with 5 nights at the round table. 5 Philly guys diversified and educated.
Sports fans, what's going on? You are once again live in the War Room, brought to you as usual by War Room Sports on that WRS Podcast Network. I'm Devin McMillan. I'm here at the round table with Jimmy the Blueprint Williams and B. Austin. Man, we got a jam-packed show for you guys today. Chip Kelly is still putting his stamp on our hometown Eagles, and we'll discuss the wild week in South Philly that's still going on even as we speak. Joining us to discuss the Nick Foles, Sam Bradford trade will be Shane Gray of CBS Sports Radio 920 St. Louis. We'll also speak with Andrew Smith, Esquire, who's running for executive director of the NFL Players Association. But just in a few minutes, we'll talk to author Rodney Flowers about his courageous and inspirational story, as well as his new book, Get Up, I Can't, I Will, I Did, Here's How. So strap in. Keep it locked right here. And if you want to get in on the live conversation, just join us right now in the JW Philly Realty chat room at blogtalkradio.com/the War Room, or join us on Facebook or Twitter at War Room Sports. You can also call us directly when we open up the Digital Extreme Tech hotline. That number is 323-410-0012. We probably won't do that for about an hour and 15 minutes this episode because we got a jam-packed show in the first hour. So everybody out there, just make sure you visit warroomsports.com. Click on the WRS Podcast Network tab to listen to our network partners, which is some of the greatest talk radio on the net. You can check out the Broad Street Line with Roy and Chris, After Further Review with the Mayor, the Tissue and the Tape Hip Hop Show with Phil and Savad, Sports Trap Radio with Brandon Pemberton and Anthony Green, the Hoop Girls with Shell, Terry, and Jewel. Shout out to them. I was on their show for a little while last night, and we had a ball. So shout out to the Hoop Girls and Jules and a whole lot more. The network is also on iTunes, and you can also check the listings at fatsradio.com for air times of all your favorite WRSPN sports shows because we're syndicated over there, including our show, The War Room, which airs over there Sundays and Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Fellas, the free agent roller coaster is real. What's going on?
Yo, it is out of control.
No doubt.
I literally can't remember. I can't remember a free agency period that's this active. Like I can't. Can any of y'all?
Especially the trade market. Like, you know, people. It's usually a signing frenzy, but there's a lot of trades going on. Jimmy, what are your thoughts on that?
I was just wondering whether this is like going to be the new thing now with everything that's happened the last CBA and where we are in terms of free agency and contracts and people not wanting to pay contracts and everything else. I know later on we'll talk with someone who may have a say-so in that, but I just wonder if this is like, the new paradigm at this point.
Yeah. Yep. Well, we're going to get into that and a whole lot more. Like I said, about 45 minutes from now, we're going to have Shane Gray from CBS Sports 920 in St. Louis to come give the St. Louis perspective of the Nick Foles, Sam Bradford trade. Even when we talk free agency in the second hour, the homie's going to join us, Fred Perdue of collegefootballextra.com. So we got a jam-packed show, but we have a very special guest on the line with us now. But let me give you guys, a little station identification. Make sure you got it in the right place.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? This is Jamel Hill, the Hers from His and Hers on ESPN2, and you are in the War Room on the War Room Sports Podcast Network.
All right, no doubt. All right, let me give you guys a quick background, man. Rodney Flowers suffered a traumatic injury to his spinal cord in 1993 during a high school football game, which left him paralyzed from the neck down. Doctors repeatedly told him and his family that he'd never walk again and would basically be in a vegetative state for the rest of his life. 20 plus years later, Rodney is walking and continuing to prove those doctors wrong. He's written a book. As I said earlier, it's called Get Up, I Can't, I Will, I Did, Here's How. And we have Rodney on the line with us right now to talk about it. Rodney, what's going on, man? You're in the War Room. How you doing?
Yo. What's going on, man? How you guys doing?
Man, we're pretty good.
Rodney, we blessed, man. We happy to have you. What's going on, good brother?
Oh, man, nothing, man. Just living life, man. Loving it. Glad to be a part of the War Room. Thank you guys for having me.
No doubt, man. We heard your story. We actually saw your video a few months back on YouTube. The short documentary called "Defeating the Odds, Fulfilling the Purpose." So it's been a few months since we saw that, and we know we had to get you on the show at some point. So I'm glad we got you on. So let's get right into it. Just tell the audience real quick, because we've spread the video actually, but for those who haven't seen the video or don't know your story, just give everybody a condensed version of your story. What happened back in '93?
Well, it goes like this, man. I was a star football player for the Lumberton High School Pirates, and it was a typical game, and I was running down, on the kickoff of the start of the second half, and I hadn't scored all game. I was a star running back, and I was on special teams and wanted to make a big play. And so my idea was to hit this guy as hard as I could to cause a fumble and make a big play. Well, in my doing that, I hit this guy, as hard as I could, and when I went down after the tackle, it felt like all of my energy just jumped out of my body, man, and I couldn't get back up, and my mom and everyone, came out on the field and was trying to help me get up. But I couldn't get up, man. I couldn't get up, and I knew at that point something was seriously wrong with me. And, I had heard about spinal cord injuries. I was in a denial state, didn't think that had happened to me. But the reality of it was I had suffered a severe spinal cord injury, man, and I was paralyzed from the neck down.
Wow. So, how did that go? Once you get past the initial trauma, and you have to start wrapping your mind around it, like, how did the initial recovery go?
Well, it went horrible, brother. There was no pill, right? There was no procedure that they could perform, So the diagnosis was, C5, C6 spinal cord injury, and it's going to remain that way for the rest of your life. Within 72 hours, that's what I was diagnosed, and there was no hope, really, of me recovering. As a matter of fact, I had a 92% chance of remaining paralyzed from the neck down for the rest of my life.
Wow.
And that's what was expected for me for the rest of my life.
Okay, so that was what was expected. like I said, I've seen the video, so I've seen otherwise. You know, I saw you walking, I've seen you driving, I've seen you do, you know, a lot of things, you know, living regular life. How did that progression go over that 18 years? Like, how did it happen?
Well, it was really slow, man, and it took a lot of determination and hard work, and just staying at it, man. I didn't accept what they gave me, so I just kept working hard, and I was surrounded by a good group of people that supported me and helped me keep the faith in God and in my ability to succeed. And I began focusing on the positive instead of the negative part of the situation. And honestly, I fell in love with achieving goals, man. I started setting goals to get my mind off the negative side of my injury, and I fell in love with setting goals and achieving them, you know. And so, you know, whenever I was able to move a leg, I just kept moving it. I wanted to turn a twitch into a full range of motion, and I did that. And once I did that, I set another goal, maybe to take a step, you know, and I kept at it over the years. And when I was able to take a step, you know, the story goes on. I just kept doing it, and I kept doing it. And, you know, 18 years later, man, I got up out of a wheelchair.
Wow.
That's amazing. Rodney, this is Jimmy.
Wow.
I watched your video. Very, very inspirational. But I had a question from the mental standpoint, because I could only imagine, like, the kind of mental stress you went through. Did you ever, like, I just want to know, like, how do you feel about the game of football now? Is it difficult to watch football? Because I tried to put myself in your shoes and how I would feel and a lot of the emotions that you would go through throughout this entire process. So, like, how do you feel about football now? Are you able to watch it? Did you ever have any sort of anger at the game, or you know? So, just walk us through the emotions, the mental standpoint.
No, man, I'm not mad at football. I never was. I was mad at the world because I felt like I was given a raw deal. But yeah, I still watch football. I still love football. And as a matter of fact, if I could get up right now and play football like that, I would get out there and play it again because, you know, I understand, man, that this could happen at any time. It was a freak accident. It could have been a car accident. So from a mental standpoint, you know, I just had to accept that, you know, this was my life. You know what I mean? That this is something that happened to me, and that I had to make a decision to either let it destroy me or build me up. So I started looking at it as an opportunity. I started looking at what would happen if I was to overcome it, you know. Or I looked at it as what happens if I don't? What is going to be my state of life? And I didn't like that picture. So I started, like I said, setting goals to change that. And that was my drive. That was my determination. You know, I kind of psyched myself out like, no, I can't live with that. So what am I going to do? I put the responsibility on me. What am I going to do to make my life better?
Rodney, you are certainly a marvelous example of the human spirit and inspiration to all that you touch. Talk to us a little bit about the advice and the wisdom and the counsel that you extend to other human beings as you travel, you know, through your journey. What are the three things, if you could capture them, that you say to those that you come in contact with that find inspiration in your story?
Well, the number one thing, man, is when we experience challenges, man, we have a choice. We have a choice to allow that to defeat us and complain about it, or do something about it. You know what I mean? That's really my main message, is that, you know, challenge is going to come and go. It's a way of life, but it's how you view that challenge. It's your perspective on a thing. You know, there may be something positive that can come out of that, but if you just focused on the negative side of it, you're not going to see that. You're not going to realize that. Therefore, you're not going to work towards that. You know, sometimes things in life happen to bring the best out of you, man. I mean, I've accomplished some major things, man, that I may not have accomplished had I not got hurt. Now, I don't wish that on anybody, but it certainly helped when I changed my perspective about that thing. You know, it helped me go on and get over it. You know, and so now that I'm mature in that area, when challenges do come, I always take a step back and just look at it and say, okay, you know, it's a challenge, but what are we going to do to change the situation? We're not going to complain about it. It is what it is. So let's think about what we can do to make this thing better. You know, let's look at the positive side of it. You know, and I think that's what people should do.
This is Devin. I've always prided myself on being a fairly strong person. You know, I've been through my share of, you know, hardships in life, but brother, like if I'm strong, you're like Incredible Hulk strong. Let's talk about this book for a minute. I've given the people the title a few times, and I was originally assuming that it was, going to be sort of an autobiography, but I learned otherwise, when I was talking to you off air. What's the message that you're trying to convey to readers by telling the story that you do tell in the book? First of all, what is the book about, and what message are you trying to convey to the readers?
All right. Well, the book is a real life example of someone that has experienced trauma in their life, right? So what I do is I walk you through my entire experience with this spinal cord injury from beginning to end to where I am right now, right? And so I give you all the details about me laying down on that field, to where I am. And then I give you everything that I learned along the way in each chapter that allowed me to overcome the mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual standpoint of that injury, all those things that occurred, to as strong as I am right now, to be able to walk again and inspire other people. My message is to get up, just what the title says. I think in the subtitle, I can't, I will, I did, we all go through that. Some of us stop at the I can't part, right? And that was me. I went through that. I could not, and I felt like I couldn't. Then I made a decision that I will, right? And then I did, and I'm showing you how. My message is to get up in any situation. Whatever goal that you feel that you want to reach, it's not too big. Get up. Let's do it. And I'm going to give you 22 ways that you can make that happen.
Wow. Rodney, I'm hyped for real. Like, because, we have, our little media company here that we started 4 years ago. It's just a few of us. It's been hard, time consuming, stuff like that. And, I'm listening to all the advice you're giving, and it's an example of, kind of what we go through every day on the business level. And it's one of those things, you look at your story, man, and if we ever tried to quit, like, I'd be so ashamed of myself, man. Where can people get your book? Where can they purchase the book?
Real easy, man. It's on www.getuphere'show.com. You can also reach me at rodneyflowers.com. And I'm also on Facebook, rodneyflowers.12. Facebook.com, rodneyflowers.12.
All right. And also Twitter, rodneyflowers22, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Rodney, man, it's been an absolute pleasure. And this definitely won't be the last time that we speak to you, man. We appreciate you giving us a few minutes of your time, telling everybody about your story and about the book. And we'll make sure we get that out there and get it promoted for you and try to get, some of those sales up. Thank you so much, man.
Appreciate you guys for having me, man. Thanks a lot, brother.
All right.
All right, bye-bye.
Rodney Flowers, everybody, author of the book Get Up. Look, go out there and get it. We're going to post all of the information where you can get the book on all of our social media platforms. You guys make sure you go out and get that book. Rodney's a real inspirational brother. All right, man. So let's get into some sports. Let's get into what happened this week while all of you good people out there were on the grind trying to get that that paycheck. And On the Grind, as usual, is brought to you by DirecTV. If you like a better TV experience than cable has to offer, including that NFL Sunday ticket, which you will need in a few months, go to our website, warroomsports.com, click on the DirecTV logo, and order yourself a better TV experience at a discounted War Room Sports sign-up rate. If you call yourself a sports fan, then you got to have DirecTV. All right, on the grind this week, fellas, man. First of all, this is a story. I mean, it touches all walks of life. It doesn't start as a sports story, but it starts to affect their athletic program. I know you guys heard and saw the video of the fraternity down at the University of Oklahoma. The video of them on the bus saying that, no N-words, were basically they're chanting that, no N-words ever going to stand by them and their fraternity. Nobody's ever going to join that fraternity. The chapter at that university ended up being suspended for this video. Quick thoughts on that. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Because we haven't really gotten a chance to speak about it too much. So what do you think? I know you're not surprised.
When things like
surprise
this,
is never the emotion.
Yeah. Let's be clear here with our audience and viewers, or well, in this case, audience and listeners, and those that bang with us pretty tough. I'm sure you're aware that none of us are surprised by this, and I am speaking for Devin and Jimmy, as you will probably hear their opinions just shortly. But none of us are surprised. I mean, I actually enjoy when things like this happen. And let me explain why. I think the dialogue on race relations, racism, classism, all of those things, those conversations get kind of swept under the rug, man. They get swept under the rug. And so when things like this happen, it's an opportunity for it to be brought to light. We can't hide it. And we see that this fraternal organization really is just making a reactive move because they probably share the same feelings. They just wanted some discretion in terms of the way it was expressed. And real quick, because we got to get to our other brothers, something interesting occurred February the 6th at the Aspen Institute. Three-term mayor Michael Bloomberg shared or intimated with the audience he was speaking to that 95% of violent crime and murders are Black and Hispanic males between the ages of 15 and 25. That's what the police should expect. So I bring that up to say that in both of these instances, the underlying beliefs of who and what Black people are and other minorities in the minds of certain white people, this is just what they think. They're kind enough or gentle enough or scared enough not to articulate it or not to be rude with it, but this is what they think. And the only way it gets changed is to have the ugly discussions. Nobody wants to acknowledge that it's still there, but it's still there. So this is what it is. So I love when stuff like this happens.
I'll be very brief. B. Austin already spoke for me. It's not surprising. In terms of Michael Bloomberg, you can fudge those statistics to say anything you want. It's sort of like we were talking earlier about analytics, because that's just not true. But you can fudge the statistics to say that. With that being said, man, like, it's not shocking. This is, Ice Cube said, here's what they think about you. But I like even though it's reactionary, it's sort of like watching the movie Glory during Oscar season. And when King talked about the strategy, it's like to show America just how ugly it is. Because some people, believe it or not, are surprised by this. They don't think this kind of thing exists. So what's happening in society now that, we're living under Big Brother, which is ourselves, because we put everything on video, social media, camera, YouTube, what have you. Some people are starting to see just how ugly it is, with police shootings and some of the things that people say. Because there are, believe it or not, and I know a lot of people are like, yeah, whatever, there are some people that don't believe people think this way. They don't believe that this country and human beings in general are as nasty as they are. So it's kind of like putting a mirror so that we can see just how nasty and vile some people can be, and that's of all race.
Jimmy's referring to the folks who believe in the term post-racial America, which is like one of the funniest terms. It's not even meant to be, comedy, but post-racial America is along the lines of, Kevin Hart playing the Garden. And you're absolutely right. Like, because, everybody wants to, after the fact, express remorse, but, it's just remorse because somebody just happened to be, sneaking a camera on the bus when you guys were
not
doing
remorse
that.
For feeling that way.
Yeah, there's no remorse for actually feeling that way. And what's kind of irked me is the position that a lot of people are taking. One Rush Limbaugh is basically saying, well, if Kanye West made that chant or put that in the song, it'd be a hit. But it wasn't Kanye West. So what's the point of even saying that? You know what I'm saying? Like, we know we have this problem. We know that that's a word that we shouldn't use in our own community. But at the same time, who is anybody else to police that besides ourselves? So if Kanye West put it in the song and it became a hit, that doesn't have a damn thing to do with these kids on the bus with this passed down learned behavior, chanting what they were chanting. So,
But here's my thing, right? People people always like to point at things like if Kanye West said this or if they stop killing each other, but no one wants to dig deeper and ask why. Why is it that if Kanye West says that, it becomes a hit? Why is it that there's black-on-black violence? People don't want to really dig deep and figure out why, because that like, you know, you start peeling back those layers and you get some ugly answers. So no one wants to do it.
So you want to start talking about white privilege and white entitlement and
yeah. So we
and white.
That's a whole other show. We got a lot to get to. But no one wants to ask that question. Why? Why is it a hit if he does that? Like, you know, you want to start peeling back those layers.
Institutional racism, the benefit that certain segments of our population have that others don't, and then they want to still cry victim. Oh man, no, that's not why we're here.
All right. Hey, look, you guys remember the story that we talked about back in April? I believe the playoffs were happening, and while Paul George was at a game, his home was being burglarized. Well, the dude has been caught. Michael Lewis, 43 years old, he was caught a while back, and he was sentenced to 16 years, which basically totals 14 years in prison and 2 years of work release for the burglary of Paul George's home. He walked off with a $15,000 NBA All-Star ring, a $700 watch, a pair of Jordans, and $20 in cash. And he's going to do 14 years in prison, 16 years total in the system for this. Obviously, he had priors. So, you know, he wasn't getting this type of penalty just because he robbed Paul George's house. But damn, 16 years? Thoughts on that?
They roofed
Man,
him.
listen.
They roofed him.
Yeah, he definitely got roofed. It's like when you look at God versus what he got, like, and you guys can follow what I'm saying. It's like, yo, it's not even worth it. People got less time robbing a bank, and they got away with a lot more money.
Yo, he would have been better off if Paul George was home and he would have had like I got a story to tell type of story. He'd have got more money off of that because it could have made him, you know.
On one hand, I want to say the punishment doesn't fit the crime, but I don't know enough about this gentleman's history to really say that. So
we don't know what he did.
Yeah, we don't know what he did in the past. We don't know what his history is. So God bless him, and I hope he makes it.
I'm sure it's
through.
still harsh, man.
And,
like I said, it was no sign of forced entry. It said that it appeared the alarm system wasn't on, but it appears a little harsh. But you know, you end up robbing a guy's house and you get 16 years. You probably still need one of those.
You should be ashamed of yourself. The way you carry yourself.
Imagine how salty he is.
All right, now at the gym, you know, everybody's been a member of a gym at some point. Probably not me, but Planet Fitness. There's a woman who's been barred from Planet Fitness for complaining about a transgender person being in a female locker room. So basically, you know, she came out and complained that there was a man in the locker room. Planet Fitness says that they have a no judgment policy, and you know, that was all they said to the woman. But later on in the subsequent weeks, the woman came back to the gym and kept approaching other ladies saying, you know, they have a man who's allowed to dress and undress in our locker room. And she kept pressing the issue. She ended up getting barred from Planet Fitness. Do you guys think that's fair or foul?
Yo, first thing I thought of this was a story last year, which was controversial with Fallon Fox, the transgender woman who wanted to fight MMA and fight women, right, although she was born a male. I thought of that. And then it's just interesting because it's like society is moving so fast and some people just aren't ready for it. But why do you even care? Like, I talked to some people who said, I talked to some people, they was like, yeah, I see chicks standing at the urinal all the time in the gym. So this is something that happens. Because I mean, I'm trying not to laugh, be off the stop, but you know, they exist. I mean, this is the world we live in. But you know, I just don't care enough. Like, people care about other people's business so much. I just don't understand why. I don't care who you have sex with. I don't care who you marry. I just don't care about you, like people in general. Like, why do you care so much? She just tried to be a rabble rouser and it backfired on her. But I guess it's something that's going to have to be answered from a legal standpoint.
Did you see the photo though of Carlota Skladowska, who is the person born a male and is now identifying as a female? I can't front, man. As a woman, like she would scare me a little bit, like. But I understand. I definitely understand what Jimmy's saying. Like, people do care
did she
a
walk
little
up to
too
her and
much.
grab her ass or something? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what did she do? What did she do?
If she's just chilling in the locker room and changing clothes and just doing what everybody else does, then it probably not a big deal.
Is she pre-op or post-op? Like, when she was changing, was her schlong like coming out? Like,
probably like you said, probably a chick at the urinal. Well, they don't have urinals in there.
They don't have urinals in there.
Might have been a standing up strong stream pee or something and made her feel
standing
uncomfortable.
up at the toilet. I mean, but I'm just saying, like, if she grab your ass or it's sort of like people who be like, I don't like him, he's gay. Like, yo, did he come on to you? Like, I don't understand.
The thought here is she could be a post-op transsexual who's lesbian.
Right. Oh, yeah, who knows? But like you said, if she didn't make a move, then it seems to be much ado about nothing. But there's some states. I believe Florida's one of them. Kentucky's one of them. They're actually trying to make legislation against stuff like this because they're saying that they're trying to have people just go by what they identified as when they were born or what they identify as on their driver's license. So that's going to be a whole new fight because, that's in its purest form. It is discrimination, but there's probably cases to be made on both sides, but I'm not getting into that, man. You don't bother me. I don't bother you.
You realize that all the states you named were those that succeeded from the Union during the Civil War. But anyway, I did see
Jeb Bush states.
So basically, it falls short, not attractive as a man or a woman. So, anyway, go ahead, B. Austin.
I'm not quite sure really what to say. So
you should be ashamed of yourself. The way you carry yourself.
Yeah, I'm going to move on. I'm not even going to ask who it was for. I know, Jimmy, you sound like you're about to do that. Don't even go there.
All right, go ahead.
I'm not even going to ask which person that was for. Dante Jones, man.
Everybody.
You guys know throughout his career, Dante Jones, he seems to want to be sort of an enforcer, a tough guy, and they generally don't come from Duke University. Now, don't get me wrong out there, Duke fans. I'm not one of those Duke haters, but, let's keep it real about being tough. That's not Duke. I mean, Christian Laettner has a 30 for 30 coming on this Sunday crying about how everybody hated him. So, y'all not tough. I'm sure you guys have seen the video by now in the nationally televised game. After the Warriors finished off the Clippers, Draymond Green was being interviewed on the court. And as he was, Dante Jones came by and bumped him during his interview. You guys have any thoughts on it? Because he was fined $10,000. I think that's a little bit excessive.
Draymond Green, if you saw his response to this, became one of my favorite players in the NBA, and he's not even that good. He played Dante Jones out so bad that his teammates have to make fun of Dante for the move. Like, he was just like, I did that stuff. I would do that too if I wasn't getting no playing time. I mean, let's face. Then he went on to say, let's face it. If I respond and they suspend me, basically he said, if I kill you, I'm brainless. But if you kill me, you're famous. So what's a Draymond to do?
That's exactly what he said. That's exactly what he said. Like, basically, Draymond killed him to the point where Dante Monster just, like, retire. But Draymond Green is actually getting better every year as a player. So he's actually become a good player. So I respect him.
Oh yeah, he's nice.
Adding to his game.
He's nice.
But that post.
I'm
that
just
post,
saying he's
game,
still Draymond Green.
That's what that post game interview was right there.
Yo.
Yeah, and what and I'm paraphrasing what he said. He was like, basically, if I get suspended, my team's gonna miss me. He said if he gets suspended, then his team won't even notice. Yeah. And at this point, that is the truth. I think $10,000 is a little excessive, and I think it's excessive probably because of Draymond's response. I think he got enough just off of the word. I think that probably hurt his feelings more than the $10,000 fine can actually hurt his pockets. So
there's something that's not being said in all of this. There's something that's not being said in all of this. And it's really the Clippers organization should be ashamed of itself for having Dante Jones on the bench, because at one point in time, Dante was an all right athlete and he could give you 6 fouls. But his last job was in a YMCA league that took broken down old NBA dudes that weren't really past their age prime, but past their game prime, and mix them up with regular dudes and let them play. Like this is real talk, like real rap. Dante Jones was playing in one of these leagues with Smush Parker, getting buckets against dudes with day jobs, like a Roy Jones basketball league type thing.
Yo, Doc Rivers must owe
Clippers? Why would you sign him? Why would you sign him?
He owes somebody a favor, man. That's how it is. There's always some dude at the end of the bench that's a favor.
No, they already got a favor. Austin Rivers on the team.
Yo, I don't even want to get into. I don't even want to get into that because I still don't understand how that works. But it is what it is.
All right. Well, look, that's what happened, everybody, this week while y'all were on the grind, and we're gonna talk a little bit because we have Shane Gray coming on to talk about the Nick Foles, Sam Bradford trade. Shane Gray actually covers the Rams for CBS Sports 920 radio station out in St. Louis. So we're going to do our birthday shout outs after that. But before we do that, I'm just going to let everybody know what they can do on a weekly basis to get in touch with us. And right after that, we'll have Shane on to talk about the trade. So you guys, you can check out our website at warroomsports.com. While you're there, be sure to sign up for the War Report. That's our weekly newsletter. Click on the Contact Us tab to send a message about the company, the show, or to inquire about sponsorship and advertising opportunities. While you're browsing the site, make sure you click on the Memorabilia tab. You can buy War Room Sports merchandise. Click the Blog tab to read our latest sports articles in the All's Fair and Sports and More blog. Then you can click the respective icons and tabs to like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to the iTunes podcast, to watch our webcast at War Room Sports TV, listen to the radio network at WRSPN, and download our free War Room Sports mobile app to get everything I just mentioned on the go. Join the JW Philly Realty chat room right now during the show. That's blogtalkradio.com/the War Room to enter the chat room. Just sign up for a free profile on Blog Talk Radio. If you don't want to do that, you can sign into your Facebook and Twitter accounts as well. While you're there, click follow. Make sure you get updates and reminders about the show. We'll be taking questions and reading posts from Facebook, Twitter, and the chat room during the show. But if you want to call in and speak with us, you can dial the Digital Extreme Tech hotline. That number is 323-410-0012. Press 1 when prompted. If you're already listening from your phone, just press 1 if you want to talk. But like I told you guys earlier, we have a jam-packed show today, so the hotline won't be open until a little bit past the start of the second hour. But like I told you guys, about the big trade that happened this week between the Philadelphia Eagles and the St. Louis Rams. They basically swapped quarterbacks and a few picks. And we're going to actually get back to it later after Shane and give you our take on it. But we want to give the St. Louis perspective. And Shane is here to give that to us. So like I told you guys, he's from CBS Sports Radio 920 out in St. Louis. Shane, welcome back to the War Room. What's going on, good bro?
Hey, what's good, fellas? It's been a minute, but it's definitely good to be back in the War Room. and
No
I
doubt,
hope y'all
no
are doing
doubt.
great.
Man,
Shane,
we are, man. It's
I
been
definitely want to know how you stuck us up.
it's hey, well, the Rams are good at this. BS and the Rams are very good at fleecing other teams, but maybe they don't see it that way. So,
Ask the Redskins.
Shane,
Yeah.
I just want to get a sense of what the feeling is out in St. Louis. What's the mood of the city after the deal? Do the fans like it? And after that, like, what are your personal thoughts on the trade?
In St. Louis and throughout the Rams fan base, it's been really interesting. And I was thinking about this earlier today, and I was thinking about how things would be in a market like Philadelphia in regards to a quarterback that's went 18, 30, and 1, that was a number 1 overall pick, that's had a quarterback rating of just 73.9. He's missed 4 of his last 6 years, most of those years, good portions of those years, I should say, going back to his final year in college at Oklahoma. So for a quarterback that's been as disappointing as he has been, again, as a number 1 overall pick in the 2010 NFL draft, there's more people that are upset about this trade than you might think. There's a lot of people, yes, that are excited for a fresh start for a franchise that's been really the second worst in the NFL over the last 10 years, over the last decade, other than the Oakland Raiders, who have been the only team that's been worse. But there's been a lot of people who maybe it's a more sympathetic type fan base, more sentimental type fan base than the average Philadelphia fan. But it's kind of mixed. There's a lot of people that are glad he's gone, but there's more people than you would think that are upset that Sam didn't get another chance to come back in St. Louis for one last shot.
Well, real quick,
Shane,
before you give your
this is-
personal thoughts, hold up, before he gives his personal thoughts, I just want to let him know, like, in Philly so far, it's actually, to me, been surprisingly mixed as well. A lot of people were on the bandwagon of getting rid of Foles. I think they all just thought that it was going to be in a package for Chip Kelly to actually move up and get Marcus Mariota, which I was, as a fan, I'm not in favor of. With Sam Bradford, there were mixed reactions, especially because of his injury history, but it sounds like a lot of people were trying to look at the bright side, saying how good he might be able to be if he can stay healthy. And at the same time, I think the fan base has gotten an extra jolt today because a lot of people believe wholeheartedly that Sam Bradford is the reason that, they just got DeMarco Murray. So it seems like everybody's not too upset about grabbing Sam Bradford now because he came with, the leading rusher in the league. Go ahead, B. You had something for Shane real quick?
Yeah, no, I definitely am very interested in hearing, not only your personal thoughts, but whether or not you feel the Rams have upgraded the position. But yeah, your personal thoughts on this. Just my take. I've always been quietly sort of on the positive side, somewhere between indifference and positive on Sam Bradford in terms of talent and ability. I just think he can't stay healthy. I think that he's a direct descendant of Mr. Glass, and so he breaks quite easily, like in a china shop. But I think that if he could remain healthy, he's got a hell of a strong arm. He reads the field well, and decision making isn't a negative of his. I think he's a little too conservative and gun shy and quick to check it down. But that's also by virtue of the talent that maybe he's had to throw to. If he was healthy, but that's such a big if, man. I don't want to see Mark Sanchez again. But what are your thoughts, Shane? What are your thoughts?
I like your summation of Bradford. He's got all the talent in the world. He's got the big arm. He's got good touch, and most of the leadership intangibles that anybody would want in a starting quarterback. But the big issue is durability. One thing that could help him is he played in a fast-paced spread offense at Oklahoma. So this may be an offense that's tailor-made for him. And for the sake of the Philly fans, one would have to hope that that would be the case. Again, the biggest concern with him is the durability issue. In 2013, the first 7 games of the year, he started off really strong. His quarterback rating was nearly 100. His touchdown to interception ratio was very high, but he suffered that first of what ended up being back-to-back season-ending ACL injuries. So, again, the biggest thing with him is durability. I do sometimes question his ability to progress through reads as well as some of the elite quarterbacks do. And also his pocket awareness. At times he doesn't seem to sense the pressure coming at him from the blind side that a guy like maybe an Aaron Rodgers does. But all that said, yes, he does have a lot of talent, still just 27 years old. He was the number 1 overall pick for a reason. And if he can stay healthy, going back to Pat Shurmur, who was his offensive coordinator in St. Louis in 2010, when Sam won the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year award, he could, end up being that guy that obviously Chip Kelly believes that he can be.
What are your thoughts on Foles? Like, if because you've been able to see a little bit of Foles over the last 2 years, and Bradford's been injured. Let's try to imagine a perfect world where both of these guys have been healthy, or both of these guys are healthy, and we're going on what we've seen, not what we think their ceilings are. Like, do you think the Rams upgraded the position?
I like Foles in this system. I wouldn't necessarily say an upgrade from a talent perspective. I think they're similarly talented overall, but looking at some of the numbers in terms of what he's done off of play action, and you guys know as well as I do with Jeff Fisher, you're going to be throwing up a play action a lot because it's going to be pound the rock, pound the rock, pound the rock, throw the ball. And Foles has done really well. His numbers off of play action, I think his quarterback rating is like 110, 115, something along those lines. So in that regard, I think he should be a really good fit in St. Louis.
Okay, I'm a Foles fan, so I was kind of sorry to see him go. So I'm going to root for him from here on out, and I hope he becomes an absolute star out there in St. Louis. Last thing before we get you out of here, though, the organization. Have you been able to get a feel of whether or not or what level of reluctance they may have had to finally have to give up on Sam Bradford, or do you basically get the notion that it was time and they didn't have much of a problem with it?
It was a combination of things, but the number one thing was Sam's reluctance or refusal to renegotiate his contract and give the Rams a little bit of cap relief. They ended up saving almost $13 million on the Foles trade. Both of those guys entering the final year of their rookie deals. So that was the biggest thing. It wasn't so much that they were ready to give up on Sam, but they wanted Sam to give back, and try to just make that contract work just a little bit better. Right. He was the last of the big money contract before the new CBA, the number 1 pick in 2010. I think if he makes everything off of his rookie deal, it ends up being like $80 million. And the Rams just wanted a little relief on that. Bradford wasn't willing to do that, and they felt that Foles was a guy that could come in and do every bit of what Bradford could do and maybe more. And personally, I like the move in St. Louis. I like how Foles fits. Personally, I'm excited for a fresh start. This fan base needs something to get excited about again. And hopefully the move to Philadelphia will be the new beginning that Bradford needs, because he's kind of been stuck in neutral in St. Louis with a franchise that's been stuck in neutral since the close of the greatest show on turf. And hopefully, for everyone's sake, this trade will work out well for both organizations.
All right. Well,
this is one of those trades. I was just going to say, Dev, this is one of those trades where I see a win-win for both teams. God bless Nick Foles, and we're both fans of his, and sad to see him go. But hopefully, the Bradford era works. Go ahead, Dev. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh no. I was just going to say good luck out there in St. Louis, and I don't know. You guys have the defense working. Hopefully now the offense can get going, and now that San Francisco is probably or definitely going to take a step back, the Rams may be able to make some noise out there. So Shane, thank you again for joining us. We appreciate your time, man, and we'll talk to you next, closer to when the season starts.
Absolutely. Good to be back and look forward to talking with y'all again soon.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, Shane.
That's Shane Gray, everybody. He covers the St. Louis Rams for CBS 920 Sports Radio in St. Louis and inside STL.com. Hey, Jimmy, real quick, man, you want to give those birthday shout outs before we move on? Because the train is chugging. We got another guest.
Yeah. We definitely got to get these birthday shout outs, man. First birthday shout out I want to give out is Merton Hanks, who turns 47.
Merton Hanks had the longest neck in NFL history.
Yeah.
Pause.
Yeah, pause.
Hey, he got a long neck, man. What I got to do with that? Hey, he gave neck. I said he got a long neck.
Yo, John Thompson III turns 49. Steve Levy turns 50.
Shout out to those guys.
Remember this guy? Isaiah J.R. Ryder.
Marijuana.
My man.
Yo, that's funny. The first thing you thought about was marijuana. The first thing Jimmy thought about was chipped up cell phones. I think that's what I thought about as well. But
no one thought about basketball though.
It was also an article on Sports Illustrated about how he had got a big deal. He got a huge deal one time from the Timberwolves. And to celebrate his deal, he went back to the hood and started a crap game. So I never forget those stories.
Yo,
he came from signing
that's
contract
crazy.
and wanted to start.
And because the first thing I thought of was basket weaving, because I heard that was his major at UNLV.
That was his major. Basket weaving.
So nobody thinks that. I mean, he started
we
the whole
old Isaiah Ryder.
East Bay
when
funk,
J.R. Ryder
your legs in the dunk
old.
contest. He started that in the NBA at least, and none of us thought about that. Go ahead, Jim.
He needs his own 30 for 30 because there's so many great stories about J.R. Ryder that someone has to document this, man, because it's amazing. Like, we all got all kinds of stories.
I agree.
And basketball was the last thing we thought of. So we need a J.R. Ryder 30 for 30. The last birthday shout-out I want to give is Darryl Strawberry, the New York legend. These days, you think of Darryl Strawberry, you might not even think about him. You might not even think about Darryl Strawberry.
See, B also don't watch the ratchetness that we watch. So
yeah,
I know what Jimmy's thinking. Yeah, for everybody out there, we try to keep it as positive as possible in the world. We try to keep it righteous, but a few of us, we have some guilty pleasures that we're probably ashamed of, and one of them is the show Love and Hip Hop. Like PJ the other day, man. I think we just watched that to feel better about our lives, so we can get a nice laugh.
Shout out to
But Darryl Strawberry's daughter, if you don't watch the show, is on the show, and she's a little loose. She's a little corny.
I was banging 7-gram rocks and finishing them because that's how I roll. I have one speed. I have one gear. Go.
Yo, so the Strawberry family, the legacy is living on.
When me and Dev saw that it was Darryl Strawberry's birthday, we both laughed. And I said, the funny thing about that is, as ratchet and nasty as she is, my man spent most of his career high on coke and partying with hookers, but we still thinking about
staying away from the crack, which I think is pretty good advice.
Right, even with that being said, Darryl Strawberry still was a hell of a baseball player.
Yeah, she let Rich knock her screws loose in the bathroom, though. he knocked the dome off in the restaurant bathroom, though. And those are Rich's words, not mine. He said, I want to take you in the bathroom and knock your screws loose. Come on. Yo, shout out to Rich
nobody
Dollars,
on the
man.
show has ever done it in the bathroom of a restaurant. Never mind.
All right, man.
Yeah, I once got to in the Burger King bathroom. Yo, listen, Darryl Strawberry was a hell of a baseball player, though. Let's say that he was a hell of a baseball player, and he was like the king of New York for a minute. He played for the Yankees and the Mets. So, shout out to Darryl Strawberry. As a matter of fact, he was on a championship Mets team, wasn't he?
Yeah. So
You
shout out to everybody having a birthday, but shout out to Diamond Strawberry especially, and it's not even her birthday.
My birthday! Yay!
Diamond.
That mouth is.
Salute. I don't know. Ask Rich. All right, everybody. We're about to have on the line with us Andrew Smith, Esquire. He's running for the position of executive director of the NFL Players Association. That position right now is held by DeMaurice Smith. I never know how to pronounce his name. Is it DeMaurice or DeMaurice? Let's call him DeMaurice. All right, so DeMaurice Smith is currently in that position, and he's running for re-election. But we're going to talk to one of his competitors in this campaign in a minute. But before we do that, we just want to let you guys know, again, you can check out our website, warroomsports.com. If you want to call in and speak with us about any of today's topics, the Digital Extreme Tech hotline will be open immediately following this interview with Andrew Smith. That number is 323-410-0012. Press 1 when prompted. And if you're listening from your phone, you know what to do. Just make sure you press 1 if you want to talk. So right after this station identification.
What's happening? This is Michael Smith, the His from His and Hers on ESPN2, and you are in the War Room on War Room Sports Podcast Network.
Yes, you are. All right, everybody, on the line with us, we have Andrew Smith, and he is running for the NFL Players Association Executive Director. Andrew, how are you? Welcome to the War Room.
Thank you very much. Good to have you. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, no doubt. Thank you for taking the time and joining us this evening. Good to have you. So let's jump right into it. B. Austin, take it away.
Absolutely. So for the benefit of our listeners, Andrew, let's give them a little look inside of who you are, but also what the role and responsibility of the executive director of the NFLPA is. What do you do once in that role? I mean, we've seen DeMaurice Smith gallivanting around the media with regards to negotiating the collective bargaining agreement, but that's something that happens periodically. In the day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month time frame, what is that role?
You know, you used a good word there in gallivanting, and, you know, when you look at the definition probably of that word, you know, and you look at what DeMaurice has done, sure, when there's negotiations, there's a big issue, you know, he's out in the public eye and, you know, he's wearing his nice suits and he's giving his sound bites, but there is so much more to the NFLPA and so much more that these players need and actually that these players deserve. I mean, what a lot of, I guess, people in the public might not know or they may know, but every single NFL player pays dues to be a part of the NFLPA union. So in essence, there's a business relationship there where they're your client. They're paying you to do work, to represent them, to advocate on their behalf, to protect their rights, to ensure they're getting fair wages, fair benefits, their health and welfare is being, you know, protected and looked after. And, you know, what's interesting to me, and certainly one of the reasons why I'm running for the executive director is, you know, I see the union as it stands today, as it's comprised with, you know, DeMaurice Smith and the individuals that he brought in with him and the individuals that stay there. And you don't see any of that advocacy. You don't see the power of the union to unite these guys, to protect these guys, to make sure they're getting, you know, their fair share of the profits, you know, that are being, you know, earned by the league, which is growing at an enormous rate. You know, you see occasionally in press, you know, in media and certainly on the internet, the issues that are concerning these guys with health care benefits, with concussion issues, you know, with CTE, which is basically, you know, what they're saying is almost an occupational hazard, occupational disease that it seems like a lot of these players, you know, have, you know, the ability to get or to suffer from as, you know, as time goes on after they retire. And there's just no voice out there for them. You know, while the NFL and the Shield are building their image, you know, the NFLPA is not.
Gotcha. Andrew, I have a question for you. This is Jimmy, by the way. We have a lot of listeners who are in college who listen to our show, and a lot of them would like to get into sports, but not necessarily be the athlete. So could you give us a little bit about your educational background to show how you got to where you are now?
Okay, so, you know, I grew up around sports. My dad was a football player in high school, and he was a Division I college football player. He was a quarterback, set a lot of records, tried to go pro. He got hurt, was never able to make it, but he stayed in sports and worked for a couple of years with sports teams, and then he became a high school teacher, and he became a high school football coach. So I grew up around that. My dad had a bunch of quarterbacks that were kind of prodigies that he coached in high school that went on to schools like Notre Dame. He coached kids that went on to Boston College, you know, big Division I programs. And I saw that side of football. Guys that my dad played with in college went on to the pros. Some of them ended up having coaching careers. One of them was a coach for the Buffalo Bills for, you know, almost a decade during their Super Bowl runs. So I was always around football. I played basketball and a couple other sports in high school. I played some practice squad basketball at a Division I college. You know, through that, I met a lot of I played with a lot of kids. A couple of kids that I played with every day went on to the NBA. So I was kind of always around that. I knew the culture. I knew, you know, these athletes. I knew what they did to succeed. I went on to law school. After I graduated from law school, I started practicing law, and it just so happened in the first couple of years, I had an opportunity to represent 3 NFL football players in a lawsuit that they had for a business enterprise they started. I worked on that case, and I became involved with them. A year or two later, the agent that represented those guys also represented a player for the New England Patriots. He got involved in a lawsuit involving a business transaction. You know, I handled part of that case as well. And then time went on. I continued to groom my trial skills. You know, I do a lot of courtroom work. I did a lot of litigation. You know, I argued against big businesses. I had 3 lawsuits that went to the Third Circuit, which is, you know, kind of the second highest court next to the Supreme Court. And through doing all that, maintaining relationships, I got into working for, I'm in Philadelphia, so I started working for one of the local teams, in that a lot of the players, when they would have legal questions or issues or concerns, they would kind of get shoveled over to me to see if I could answer any of their questions or help them out. And then through that, you know, again, you develop more relationships. So I did that for the past 8 years, and over that amount of time, I've probably I know I've handled in excess of 56 lawsuits on behalf of NFL players. I've also probably been in contact with 80 to 100 other NFL players and giving them legal advice and legal opinions on matters and issues that they have concerns with. And then, I guess most notably, as those individuals kind of get traded, the transient nature of the NFL, as they get traded, as they get released, as they get picked up as free agents, you know, as of my last count, I had individual players that I had relationships with on 19 different NFL teams. So when the executive director position came up and the election was up and a bunch of people started announcing their names, interestingly enough, a couple reporters in the industry, a couple business people in the industry from the TV and marketing side, and then a couple of players were sending me text messages and emails saying, "Hey, I haven't heard you announce yet. When are you going to do it?" So when the idea kind of popped out, you know, I had one of those Jerry Maguire moments, right? I'm sitting in bed one night. I can't go to sleep. It's 4 a.m. I'm thinking, man, do I really do this? So I reached out to just about everybody that I know. I got a lot of feedback. You know, certainly I trust and respect all the players, you know, immensely. I respect, you know, management. I respect coaches. I respect the media and the job that they do, the job you guys do in bringing it to the public. And, you know, the responses in my favor were overwhelming, and the support in my favor was overwhelming. So I reached out to 4 NFL player representatives. They're the individuals that can nominate someone to be on the ballot. You have to have 3 reps nominate you to be able to run for the position. So I reached out to 4 player reps that I had contact information with, and I got 3 nominations in 7 days. So I think at that point my choice was made for me. So I hit the ground running.
All right. Well, Andrew, this is Devin. And, I see that you're a bit modest, so, I'm going to brag a little bit for you. For everybody out there, Andrew, he's been awarded the designation of super lawyer in labor and employment law, which is an honor given to only the top 5% of attorneys in a state. And that's voted upon by, peers, lawyers, judges, and committees. Now, I would think something like that, especially in, labor and employment law, is perfect for, the position that you're running for, being as though you would be representing players, in a professional setting. Yeah. Now, my question, because you talked a little bit earlier about, advocacy being your biggest inspiration. Besides that, is there anything else that you see lacking from the NFLPA that inspired you, that inspired your interest in this position?
There is. There's people always have short stories, so I'll give you a quick short story. So I had injured myself in a pretty bit, jet skiing, whatever you want to call it, wave runner accident down in Florida, and I was down there and I was with my wife and my kids, and I said, what, I got to get home. Didn't want to go to the hospital or anything, and I came home, and when I came home, I went to some of the team trainers and team docs that that I'm familiar with and friendly with, and they gave me A+ care, and through that process, I saw how they treat other athletes. I see, what these guys go through, the health and welfare and the beating on their body that these guys take. That's, I don't think people can really comprehend. They hear guys say, oh, yeah, you're hurt, or oh, you have a concussion, or oh, you hurt your knee. Those are just the ones they report. If you're ever on the sideline of an NFL game, these guys are running. It sounds like two cars crashing into each other when they hit each other. And through that, I got to become friendly with a couple of team trainers, and again, my relationship with some of these players, and I noticed that there was almost not necessarily a disconnect, but some trust issues there, some hesitancy. The players obviously have to be on the field to make their money, so they don't want to be hurt. The team trainers are getting paid by the owners, so they're getting paid to keep the guys on the field. So there was an issue there where, to me, from what I perceived, was there was some distrust amongst them. Almost looked like there was an appearance that there was conflicts of interest. And, in speaking with both sides, I was able to develop, certainly an idea and an objective that's in my platform, which is, like the Major League Baseball players, if you make these team athletic trainers and docs part of the union, they're now part of the team. They're united with the players. There's that sense that everybody's on the same squad working for the same goals, trying to achieve the same things, and it takes away that conflict of interest. That was one of the things that I saw, that was a significant gap in trust and in relationship developing, that I figured was a need, a gray area that I could cure. And I put that in my platform, and interestingly enough, after my platform was made public and after I was officially on the ballot, I know that the NFLPA and their executive committee reached out to all the team trainers and the head of the Team Trainer Association, and they've now set up a meeting, April 1st down in Florida to talk about exactly what I brought up. Now, when you talk about advocacy, you see, there's one thing about advocacy, there's another thing about ideas, being proactive and positive thinking and trying to constantly move all these guys forward. And, to me, I told, the guys that nominated me, I told them one thing, and I made a solemn promise to them, and that was, it doesn't matter if I win or I lose. I'm going to bring a whole bunch of things to this election that no one will ever imagine. I'm going to educate these guys. I'm going to inform these guys. I'm going to bring proactive thinking and ideas to these guys. And when I leave, and after I'm done this election, they're going to have a tool that they need to move forward, whether it be with the union, with themselves, or with the league. And that, they believed in that. And here we are, a week before the election, and they're already trying to implement some of my objectives.
Andrew, and I can speak on behalf of War Room Sports in general. We appreciate that because we've witnessed some of our ideas, quote unquote, borrowed by larger entities who keep their ears open for what it is that we do and the value that we bring. So we can certainly appreciate that. And if it's for the greater good of the overall collective, well, then I guess, who can complain? My question is actually twofold, and it's sort of to buttress the points that you have made. It has always felt in labor where the obviously the laborer is diametrically opposed to the bosses, and I'm not aware of anything specific that NFL ownership has done to undermine the NFL Players Union. So I'm definitely not wanting to put anything in your mouth, but how is the relationship with ownership, and how do you plan to manage that in your role as executive director? How do you manage really the interests of the labor force when it is truly diametrically opposed to that of the owners?
And that's a great question, and it was certainly eloquently drafted. So, I heard a great line from a player who him and I we're really close, but we butt heads a lot, on opinions. And he called me and he said, "Listen, the guy who's signing the front of the check always got more money than the guy signing the back, doesn't he?" And I said, yeah, he does. But, the difference is, and the one thing, the point that I've tried to make constantly is, the NFL is a symbiotic relationship, right? The NFL, the team owners, and the league doesn't move forward and progress without a product, right? So what's the product? The product, don't believe the hype, right? The product isn't the shield. The product isn't the TV. The product isn't, the label on the clothes. The product's the person, right? It's every single guy, every 53rd guy on that field, that's running down kickoffs, risking life and limb and injury, right? It's that guy that's the product, right? So you've got to recognize, as these owners and the league, that if you don't have a product, you don't make money. And if you don't have a product, you don't have TV. You don't have revenue. You don't have jerseys, right? So you look at the guy, look at the car dealerships, right? The guys that own the car dealerships, right? They're great, but what do they need? They need cars, and then they also need the public. They need the public to buy the cars, right? So what we're selling here is we got cars. Well, what we have to get the league and these owners to understand is, these aren't just assembly line cars, right? These are the cream of the crop cars. These are custom made, custom tuned, the best of the best cars. And you got to pay a premium for them. You can't run these guys in and out. You can't play them injured. You can't forget about their future. You can't forget about their past, right? You can't ignore the injuries and the issues that are on the field. And at the same time, you can't disrespect them as people. So, one of the first things and the most important things, I think, is creating that symbiotic relationship with the league, getting these owners to understand that, look, we're all in this together, right? The players want to make money. They want to be good. They want to have a good product. They want to win games, right? And if they do all that, you give them the tools, right, and you pay them fairly, they're going to want to achieve those goals for you. If they achieve those goals for you, you make money as a team. If you make money as a team, the league makes money. If the team, the league, and the players are all doing good, then the media and everybody else and the public wants to buy it. So there's no reason that everybody can't grow. The problem is they're not growing at the same pace. They're not growing at the same rate. And one of the most important things that a lot of people in the public don't understand, and this goes to the business side, is, as this product grows and the owners make money, they make money on a daily basis, right? That's just their revenue generation, okay? But what people don't understand is they have a big old house, and that house is the actual team. And the value of teams is increasing 20, 30% a year. You've got guys, who bought teams for $112 million that the team's now worth $1.3 billion, right? So how did he get that growth? Well, he got that growth from all the guys that were sweating, bleeding, breaking bones, right, and laying it all on the line out on the field. Well, when those guys each retired or when they each got cut from that team, they didn't get to sell their shoulder pads or their cleats or their shin guards, or their knee pads or their gloves for 10 times, what they might have paid for them when they got them from the team. So they don't have that appreciation, that growth, that growth model that the NFL owners have. So when people say you have billionaires fighting versus millionaires and they're just fighting for a cash pot, not only are the players not getting their fair share of the cash pot, but the big elephant in the room is they get absolutely no percentage of the growth of the team. Now, the easiest example that I try to give to people is in a marriage, right? Let's say you and I get married and I move into your home and you got a big home. And for the next 10 years, right, my income and your income are both combined going to pay off that home. Well, under the league rules, if you and I get divorced and you kick me out of the house, you get all the growth that I helped you make on that house, and I get none of it. And it's only in football that's kind of allowed. It's only in the collective bargaining agreement deal that they just executed that whole appreciation of all of the values of these NFL enterprises was completely ignored. And under my
Andrew,
watch,
that would
never happen.
That's a great point. But in negotiating the collective bargaining agreement, that point and that fact is to me is rarely realized. And so how do you do it differently than the status quo? I mean, because it's always to the advantage of the owner.
That's correct. So there's a couple negotiating tactics, and I guess I'll give I'll show my hand a little bit to all the guys that are going against me, because then if I lose, hopefully maybe they learn something. So in any negotiation, there's give and take, right? So you've got to make sure if you're the guy with less power, right, and you're the guy because you have less power, you have more to lose, right? When you go in to negotiate, you got to make sure that your list is 2 or 3 times the list of the guy you're going up against. And why is that? Well, if you go up against the guy and you say, listen, I've got 45 items we need to address, and I'm going to tell you all about them, what the value is of them, and why they're important to us, okay? And he comes in and he says, well, I only want to make this about 20 things. Well, let's say, but so you want to make it about 20, but I need to make it about 45. And by doing that, you know that through time, right, you're going to have to concede on some of his 20. But he's going to have to concede on some of your 45. And what you have to do is you have to be sharp enough, you have to be able to maneuver enough to know that in those 45 things, right, there's really only 20 that you need too. And you just red herring them to death. You throw everything, it's the kitchen sink theory, right? This is how I practice law and how we're told to litigate when, you throw everything in the sink, right? And you have them try to pick each thing out. And what you try to do is when you're sitting there and you got the whole sink full, you try to make sure there's enough water in there and it's cloudy and murky and bubbly enough that they're not picking out the things, or that they can't pick out the things that you really want to have, right, stay in that sink. And, that's a theory. I mean, I look at all my candidates. I certainly respect all of them. I think they all have unbelievable backgrounds and credentials. I just don't know that any of them have ever done what I do, and that's what I kind of have to express, to these player reps that, people joke, and another player said this to me the other night, and it was a great quote. He said, a lot of times people think intellect can beat out experience, right? They're just smarter, right? But if you really look at the rule of law and the rule of thumb, right, that guy with experience, sometimes he can beat the smartest guy in the room. And I think that it's time for these players to get past the intellect and to really focus in on the experience. And all I've been doing for 8 straight years is protecting current and retired players in the NFL, in Major League Baseball, and the NBA. And my track record is I've won for every single one of them. Every single one of them.
All right. Well, with that said, man, we are 100% behind you at this point. It seems like, what you want to do for the players, especially, advocating on their part, which is something they've needed. Everybody says they're going to do that, but, you've laid out a plan here that tells me, at least, I can't speak for everybody, but, it tells me that what you want to do with this position is really important and something that they need. So, Andrew, we thank you for taking a few moments out of your day to speak with us. Everybody out there, if you want to follow Andrew on Twitter, his Twitter address, if I can give that out, let me make sure first.
Absolutely.
Okay, he's at Andrew Smith ESQ on Twitter, and the website you should visit is andrewsmithfornflpa.com. Like I said, thank you so much for joining us for a few minutes, and we wish you all the luck in the world and aspiring for this position.
Yeah, Bradley, Devin, Jimmy, hey, it's been a pleasure. I wish you guys all the luck in the world. Keep progressing forward, and hey, like you said, hopefully one day, you'll be taking on ESPN.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you, Andrew.
Take care, gentlemen.
All right.
Take care.
Yep. Bye.
Andrew Smith, everybody, candidate for NFL Players Association Executive Director. All right. So before we talk this NFL free agent signing period talk, which a lot is surrounding our hometown Philadelphia Eagles, just want to let you guys know one more time, you can check out our website, warroomsports.com, to call in and speak with us about any of today's topics, but preferably NFL free agency. Dial the Digital Extreme Tech hotline, 323-410-0012. Press 1 when prompted if you're already listening from your phone. Just press 1 if you want to talk. The hotline is open right now.
Hi, Peter King with the MMQB here, and you're listening to The War Room at the War Room Sports Podcast Network.
Yes, sir. Y'all guys ready to talk some football?
Yes, sure.
All day, every day.
And for those who don't know, it's time to talk football. This is brought to you by Audible. If your schedule is too hectic to read as much as you want, try audiobooks and kick back and let someone else do the reading for you. All you do is this. Visit audibletrial.com/warroomsports. You get your free audiobook. You don't have to keep the service, but why not just go get a free audiobook? You may enjoy the service. Right now, I'm reading a book called The Innovators by Walter Isaacson, who has several great books on Audible. If you like history and technology, definitely go check that out. But get the book for free. audibletrial.com/warroomsports. Now it's time to talk some pigskin.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're not biting this one, so.
Yo, NFL free agent signing period, man, it's been crazy, completely crazy this year. Before we jump into it, we always give you a stat of the week, and since the first person we want to talk about is DeMarco Murray, I read a stat today that said he's the first NFL leading rusher to switch teams in 68 years. That's a long time. So generally speaking, when someone leaves the league in rushing, they never really change teams, but this offseason has been crazy. And DeMarco Murray is now a Philadelphia Eagle. Dev and B. Austin are diehard Eagles fans. Well, I don't know about Dev anymore. He left the Eagles for the Colts. But B. Austin's still an Eagle. So,
bandwagon.
That being said, what do you guys think about your new running back?
I'm not loyal. Man, this has been an interesting situation, Jim. The fact being, well, first of all, it just came down the wire that the deal is finalized, like for good. It's done. And of course, the deal is supposed to be 5 years, up to $42 million. There's a few incentive-laden things in there. They're about to actually do a press conference right now, live. It's going to be on the NFL Network. $21 million guaranteed. And they said of the $21 million, $18 million is guaranteed for skill and injury, whatever the hell that means. Looks like, the Eagles are trying to protect themselves against some kind of injury since he does have a past of being kind of injury prone. Look, like I said, it's more of the way everything happened, because you look at the situation with LaShawn McCoy leaving, it was a money thing. So even prior to the whole Matthews agreeing, I was thinking when DeMarco Murray started to reach out to the Eagles, I was like, okay, does that really make sense? Because if you got rid of Shady for money purposes, then you know the league's leading rusher is going to be demanding a pretty penny. So it really wouldn't make sense. But he didn't get exactly what Shady would have gotten. But I think the big part in this is he's more of what Chip Kelly is looking for in his system, and that's a north-south runner, a one-cut runner. And DeMarco is that. We know Shady makes things happen, but with Shady, you got to kind of take the bad with the good, because sometimes he gets to dancing around. He loses yardage. But, I mean, that's the same thing with my favorite running back of all time, like Barry Sanders. I believe he had a statistic. I don't know if it was just for running backs in the league then or if it's all time, but I know he used to lead the league every year in negative carries. But, after a while, he's going to dance through 3 or 4 people and bust off a 60-yarder. So his average, even though he lost yards on a lot of carries, his average was greater than a lot of mostly everybody else in the league. So I think it's a good pickup, but it's like I still don't understand the situation, because I thought once this DeMarco train left the station that Ryan Matthews was going to back out of the contract, or at least the Eagles were going to back out of the contract with him before signing. Not the case. He's in the fold now, and you still have Darren Sproles in the fold. So you have a 3-headed monster in the backfield, which by all accounts in today's NFL is good. And with Chip Kelly's pace is a good thing, because people can get rest. However, how much money do you want to devote to this position with your defense, being what it was last year? I understand they got 2 new cornerbacks. But, you still want a little bit of depth, and I hope they use the draft to get that. But I'm just wondering how you go from not wanting to pay your all-pro running back to, investing like $20 million a year into the position. So, yeah, I don't know.
I understand.
Real quick, though,
I understand it. I see exactly. Go ahead, Jim.
This goes to show that Chip Kelly is racist because he got rid of 1 black guy and brought back 2 black guys. But no, all jokes aside, though, this sounds like a 2013 fantasy football trade, right? When Shady was having that year and someone would have traded you 2 people for 1. They give you DeMarco, and Matthews for Shady. That's what it sounds like. Dev, I know you mentioned it too. Like, he has a great fantasy roster, like with Sproles,
got a nice fantasy backfield right there.
It's like Chip is playing fantasy football with his power now. Like, he's really just changing his entire roster around, and it's kind of comical because every day it seems like the Eagles are making a move. And like, I was just reading, somebody, some sportscaster from ESPN. I was on Twitter, and they were saying that everybody in the Eagles locker room is like, "Yo, I could be going today now." Like, everybody's like fearful they're on the trading block. Like, Chip is back there just building.
They scared at you now.
Yo, he's building his team the way. So it all falls on him, man.
We'll get to Chip. What's your thoughts on DeMarco?
Yeah, my opinion is in flux overall. It's changing hour to hour as the news is released almost. But specifically the running back position, I understand it. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm not saying that because in a vacuum, I think Shady is a proven talent. He's better. He's more versatile than DeMarco Murray. I think DeMarco Murray is as much a product of an excellent run blocking offensive line as he is a singular talent able to create on his own. With that being said, I do think that he's an upgrade over signing Frank Gore. So I appreciate that. What I see here and just explaining it within the context of football, we have a zone blocking scheme. And in a zone blocking scheme, the offensive line does a lot of the work, as opposed to more of a traditional style where you're looking at a hole, a choice hole. You attack that hole in terms of the linemen. The linemen attack that hole, they open that, and you run through it. In zone blocking, you get going in one of two directions, and you're not blocking a man, you're blocking an area. and that opens up multiple gaps. The running back makes a choice, and he goes.
Yeah.
Shady is the type of guy where he bounces around. Even though he's been behind a zone blocking scheme almost his entire career, he still freelances. So in that zone blocking scheme, they want a guy that's going to pick one of the holes after the offensive linemen have done all of the work and hit that hole and go. No dancing, no freelancing, no creativity. You follow the play that's called into the gap that you see, and that's that. And both DeMarco Murray and Ryan Matthews are both those types of runners. And then you bring in Sproles, who adds that versatility dimension of being able to catch out of the backfield. So I get it. I see it. I'm hesitant to say at this point, without seeing these guys on the field, that this was an upgrade. And the only reason I would say upgrade is because you have two starter quality backs over Shady. Now, Shady, as I said, is better than both of these guys. But if you put them both together, DeMarco has had an injury history. Ryan Matthews has had an injury history. And then you got Chris Polk. What they're hoping is that if DeMarco goes down, Ryan Matthews can step up. If Ryan Matthews goes down, DeMarco's. So I see it. I get it. I understand.
I kind of see. Do you think Polk is going to be around? You think they're going to keep 4 running back? I mean, that's possible, but
they're going to keep 4. You have to keep 4 because Sproles is so pivotal in the kicking game that it's like he's a running back, but he's so much more. So I think you have to keep 4. And with the injury history of DeMarco Murray and Ryan Matthews, neither one of them dudes are going to play 16 games. So
the good part about this, because of the fast pace that they run, you have dudes that can basically play a series, and if that series, if a drive actually was sustained, which they don't do much of in Philly, you can sub out. So you do have you got fresh legs back there. But with these 2 running backs, along with Sam Bradford, as we'll talk about later, it seems like
injury.
It's a scary thing. And I like the fact that they have a 3-headed backfield. I'm not even going to count Polk because he's probably not going to get, any touches unless somebody gets hurt. To have this type of 3-headed backfield, like you said, it's exciting. It's an exciting prospect as a fan, but you wonder if, the reason they actually try to hold on to both of them after DeMarco, expressed his interest is because they may be afraid of injury. And if that's so, it's like, do you have to invest that kind of money? Does it have to be too? Ryan Matthews at one point was a star, but he can't stay on the field.
What's the contract for DeMarco? DeMarco and Ryan. Yeah,
DeMarco is like he's like 5 years, 42 with 21 million guaranteed. I believe Ryan Matthews is something like 3 years, 11 a year. So DeMarco is going to be somewhere around 8 million a year. Yeah, DeMarco is going to be somewhere around 8 million a year. I'm not exactly sure. What's it going to be for Ryan Matthews?
Ryan.
But also,
you're saving money on your start.
Yeah, you did. But here's the thing, though. The upside is crazy because we know that the injury prospect is there. But if Ryan Matthews can play anywhere to where he was supposed to play coming into the league, then you add on top of that
tough backs.
Amazing upside. Sam Bradford was the number 1 pick in the draft for a reason. But with that being said, though, real quick, gentlemen, our phone lines are blowing up. Let's take a couple calls. We got some people that want to get on.
We got the mad scientist on the line, man. We got the mad scientist on the line.
Hey, the mad scientist, what's going on, homie?
Hey guys, how you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good, Nick.
All right. Let me try to break it down for you as the mad scientist of sports can only try to break it down in his own special sort of way. Because as everybody knows, I've been in my lab, my beacons have been lit, my chalkboard is pretty much all messed up with all these formulas and everything like that. But in all seriousness, in the beginning of free agency, when we saw what Chip Kelly was doing, let's face it, everybody was scratching their head. What are you doing? You're just you cut one of your best offensive linemen and team leader. You decide to trade your best playmaker for a linebacker who's just coming off a very devastating knee injury. Although when he was a rookie in 2013, was pretty much top 3 defensive rookie of the year, as well as a tackling machine. Oh, I forgot, he also played in Oregon. Stupid me for forgetting about that. Now, then came the real one. You re-signed Mark Sanchez, in which I sat there. I'm like, okay, so I guess he's putting more stock in Sanchez than Foles. Right. All right, I guess he wanted. This is what a backup is going to be making. But then I look and I see Ryan Fitzpatrick, $3.25 million. I see $4.25 million for Ryan Mallett. I see like $5 million for Brian Hoyer. And I'm like, well, something's not right here. And then the trade, in which at the time it was called the trade, Sam Bradford for Nick Foles, in which I sat back and at first when I saw it, I was. No offense, guys. I know you're all Eagles fans, but I was laughing hysterically because I was like, oh, my God, Chip has really lost the plot. But then there was starting to be some big, gigantic rumor that Chip was getting the 10th pick in the draft, and I'm like, oh, this could be interesting. And then when it came down, you saw what the Eagles gave up and you saw what the Rams came up. That was even more of a head-scratcher because Chip is giving up a second-round pick in 2016, and I'm like...
And Nick, to add on to that, the salary that he's taking on with Bradford versus Foles' salary.
Exactly. But then I started, then the wheels started turning a little bit. I was like, the wheels started turning with that, but I'll get back to that in a second. Then Macklin decides to sign with the Chiefs. By the way, Jeremy, good luck with that. Remember what the Chiefs did last year? The big old goose egg for touchdown passes by a wide receiver? So the over-under for you right now is a -1. But anyway, you go with and you sit there and you're like, okay, Gore decides to get cold feet and goes to Indianapolis. I'm like, this has not been just not. So then all of a sudden Ryan Matthews, then all of a sudden DeMarco Murray, then Byron Maxwell. You cut. Okay, I can understand cutting Trent Cole and Kerry Williams as well. I mean, Nate Allen went and signed with Oakland. Addition by subtraction, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, good riddance.
Then the wheels started turning some more. Sam Bradford, before he got hurt in 2013, was on his way to a career year. Mm-hmm. This was the type of offense that Sam Bradford ran when he was at the University of Oklahoma, putting up numbers and winning a Heisman Trophy. This is the type of offense that Sam Bradford can command with his eyes closed. Question, can he stay healthy? We need to know. You signed both DeMarco Murray and Ryan Matthews. So I started thinking, I was like, you know what? I heard you guys say, they both get hurt and they will, and they can't play 16 games. That's all well and good. Put these guys in the backfield, like splitting 15, anywhere between 10 and 20 touches a game each. That's a little bit of a scary proposition for any defense in the NFL. Oh, and if you add Darren Sproles in that mix, you can never have too many weapons. Now,
Nick,
which all leads to
Ryan
this.
Matthews stayed around. But go ahead.
Right. It all leads to this. I got a funny feeling that Chip is going to make a trade at the draft and he's going to move up, but he's not going to move up for Mariota. I got this sneaking suspicion that he's going to move up and he's going to either take Amari Cooper or the kid from West Virginia, White. You look at those two guys and the type of receivers that they are, they fit perfectly in the Chip Kelly system. And I don't want to hear it. Jordan Matthews, very underrated wide receiver, had a pretty damn good year last year. And remember, he wasn't even a starter. He was like the number 2, number 3 receiver.
Yeah, he was 3.
Huff,
Mm-hmm.
Huff, give this kid a chance to play. He will shock you. And Riley Cooper, everybody seems to forget that last year was a bad year for Riley Cooper, but look what he did 2 years ago. When he was like averaging 18 yards a catch.
Right.
So before people decide to jump off the ledge and saying Chip has lost the plot and he's blowing everything up, well, in the end, it may not be as bad as people think. If you look at the whole aspect of what has happened in a very short period of time.
I'm seeing a plan come together, mad scientist.
Yeah,
Right,
I'm seeing a plan come together.
I think the DeMarco Murray part I think that was luck. I don't think that was planned. I think that was luck. I mean, he reached out to the Eagles. But that's what, that's when you have to talk people off the ledge. You have to wait it out and actually see, how it all comes together. I mean, this is the third day of the NFL calendar year, whatever. You have to wait and see how the team shapes up. A lot of the moves at first were head scratching. And I think even the early moves, the ones that I try to make sense out of, because, I ended up making sense out of the Shady McCoy thing. But it's like when you make sense of something, then he does something that throws paint on everything that you were thinking that made sense about it. But I think with all the moves and how everything has played out thus far, I think he's back on the positive side with a lot of the fans who were ready to jump off the bridge. So we just have to sit back and wait and see how it goes, because now, I think they keep some attention on the defense, but you do have to turn your attention to wide receiver at this point. Maybe if just to get a veteran presence in there, because I hear that they're actually higher on Huff at the NovaCare complex than they are with Jordan Matthews. Now, I don't know if that's an Oregon bias, but they're higher on his upside than Matthews, and Matthews had a hell of a rookie year. But Nick, man, you're right. It could be coming together, man. It might be coming together.
I see it, Nick. I see it coming together.
Before we get you out of here, Nick, I gotta say something real quick.
You can make your point, but we're gonna get him off the line before then you can.
Before we get you out of here, Nick, I just want to say in our chat room that we got a comment that said the mad scientist made the move sound good. So Chip should probably hire you as his publicist because you sold it better than he did.
Well, it wasn't meant to sell. What do you call? As everybody knows, I'm a Minnesota Viking fan, so I've been on the sidelines this whole season, and what do you call? Waiting to see what the other shoe to drop in the Adrian Peterson saga. But I will say this: I want to see what happens in the next 2 weeks in free agency for Philadelphia, because there are still some good names out there. And here's a name I want to throw out there for everybody so they can maybe, they might think I'm nuts, crazy, out of my freaking mind, but that's why they call me the mad scientist. Do not be surprised if Dwayne Bowe in the next couple of days signs with the Philadelphia Eagles.
I don't disagree. I saw that conversation on the Eagles earlier. Hey, but Nick, thank you for calling. No doubt about that. Everybody, make sure you check out the Mad Scientist. He's also a partner show on the War Room Sports Podcast Network. So go to War Room Sports, click on that network tab, and listen to the episodes of the Mad Scientist Sports Lab with the homie Nick Ficarelli. So thank you for your call, man. We appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. Have a good one, guys.
All right, you too.
Thanks, Nick.
That's an interesting name, though, because, Chip Kelly likes, the bigger players, bigger receivers. Dwayne Bowe probably does intrigue him. But B, you had a point that you were about to make.
I do see it coming together. I'm not willing to relinquish my position in that, looking at the collective of players that have been cut or moved on. I still have a problem with Shady and Macklin in a vacuum. I understand the salary cap. I understand the salary cap thing. Here's what I really see with Chip. Chip believes in his system and his scheme above and beyond any player. So I think that defenses line up and they have to account for Shady McCoy with 2 players, maybe 3, and everyone is aware when he's on the field. They're scared. I don't think that DeMarco Murray inspires that same response from defenses. I don't see that, but I do see how he fits in terms of a zone blocking scheme where you want to put the emphasis of the run and the work for the run on your linemen and how they're blocking as opposed to the back making a move. I get it. I get it. I see it. It's coming together, and we shall see. I know those that were happy and excited about, the Eagles looking like they were imploding are a little, that has been silenced. But I'm not ready to jump up and down yet. I got to see it on the field. And as far as Josh Huff, I've always been big on Josh Huff's talent, but he makes boneheaded mistakes more so than not.
I mean, he was a rookie. He was a rookie.
He's a rookie.
We'll stay on this, but remember Fred Purdue of collegefootballextra.com is supposed to join us for this conversation. He's here. He's a little tardy for the party. So Fred, we're just talking. So just
hold on real quick,
Dad.
I want to say a couple of things. I know that in our chat room, someone had mentioned that it was about the Cowboys O-line and don't expect that same DeMarco Murray, and that may be the case.
Right.
But just statistically speaking, like Dev pointed out earlier, the Eagles actually had the number one run blocking offense that is in the NFL.
Offensive line, yeah.
That's
I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah, if you're an analytic head, check that number.
But here's the thing, though.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out. Some of that is a result. Some of that is a result of Katie, though.
Well, hold on, though. With that being said, Dev also pointed out that they were 27th in the league in pass blocking offense, and they pass the ball a lot more than they run the ball. So that kind of doesn't work out for the Eagles. But in terms of run blocking, they were number one, not the Cowboys.
Dallas in this analytics study, they weren't number one in the league at either pass blocking or run blocking, but they were overall number one because they were so highly ranked in both, because they were second in the league in run block rankings. So I mean, and that's if you believe in analytics. I think they have a place in every sport, but I don't, they're not the end all be all for me. Fred, I know you had some opinions on Chip Kelly and what he's been doing this offseason. Go ahead, because we got some calls to take too. So let us know what you think.
Tons of calls. Go ahead, Fred.
Man, I really just don't understand. You get rid of Shady to bring in damaged goods. I don't understand getting rid of your best playmaker. You get rid of Nick Foles to bring in a dude that can't walk. You're relying on Riley Cooper, and Jordan Matthews is a good player. But he's not totally proven as a true number one or number two.
Yeah, he's not ready to be a number one. No.
He's not. And at best, when he was drafted, he was expected.
You're assuming he's done, and you're assuming those will be the starting
It's only been
receivers.
3 days. He ain't done. We know that.
Oh, no, he's not done. He's not done by any stretch of the imagination. I just scratch my head at these moves. You get rid of dynamic players like Stady McCoy.
My point is, you can't scratch your head until it's all done. Let's just say he goes out and signs Dwayne Bowe and drafts Amari Cooper. Now, are you still scratching your head at Jordan Matthews and Riley Cooper, because now they're the 3 and 4? Like, you have to wait and see how it plays out. You have to look at the whole. You have to look at it in the macro and not the micro, because
actually,
it's easy to say you got rid of Shady.
Yeah. No, actually, Fred, since you're a college scout yourself, you tell us. I mean, I would still, as a fan, I would still much rather see the Eagles, even if they stayed at 20. I would much rather see them go defensive backfield, because even though you got 2 new corners, you got to draft some young guys for depth. But at 20, do you see a quality wide receiver for the Eagles at 20?
Well, I feel like for me, this wide receiver group they're very deep. I think wide receiver is going to be that position going forward because of the way the NFL does really put out the way the NFL is throwing the football now. You could see a guy like a Philip Dorsett replacing that guy in Deshaun Jackson or a Jeremy Maclin with the type of speed he has. That could be an option there. But with the issues on defense, that receiver group is just so loaded. You can wait a little bit at receiver. I feel like I really don't think the Eagles are going to sit there and say we're going to stay at 20. I think they're going to be that team that moves up a little bit. I don't think they're going to move to go get Marcus Mariota. That's a nice story and all.
Or Cooper. Cooper would have to be a diesel move as well. Cooper would have to be a big move.
Cooper, I think will be gone by the way long gone before he has even a chance of getting between him and Kevin White. And Kevin White is more of the project guy, but Cooper's the more polished guy. So I
And
think with
speaking
that,
of Mariota, his pro day today was everything I thought it was going to be. I'm very well.
Yeah, the word is, I told him Chip told him to do that on purpose.
Oh yeah, I don't fully believe. I truly don't believe that he's 100% done with the whole Mariota affection. So I'm just gonna wait and see and hope that draft day passes and it doesn't happen.
Yo, even when he said I'm not going after Mariota, he gave him a Blumpkin.
Yeah,
he said
he's the best quarterback in the draft. I think he left it open with the end though. He said we wouldn't mortgage our future to go up and get a guy like that because we have other holes to fill. So what if he between now and then thinks he's filled those holes? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I still think he left it open.
Let's get back to the phone lines. We got some calls on the line. Let's get the homie Phil.
Yeah, we got to make these joints quick because we don't have that much time, y'all. So everybody get your point across. What up, Phil?
All right, Frank.
Yo, sorry to hear about Patrick Willis, man. Real talk. That's a move that hurts a fan base.
It hurts from a leadership standpoint off the field. The way I look at it, though, we played the last 10 games without him. We were 5-5. The first 3 games with them, we were 3-3. So, and then I listened to his speech. He made the point: if he can't be the Patrick Willis that we know on the field, he'd rather not be there. So I would want a half of Patrick Willis out there, even though that's still a good linebacker. It's not going to be what we do. I mean, so it is what it is. I respect him. I'm glad he
better than Casey Matthews.
I'm from a mean non-Philly fan. I'm glad Frank didn't go to the Eagles. Y'all gonna retire his jersey?
Yeah, we got to. Frank Gore's still one of the best running backs we ever had. Like, don't get it twisted. Hey, so what do you think about the whole Chip thing? Because I'm going to give you credit for coining the phrase. He's ducking it up. So,
but what I say about Chip, Chip is 100% behind his system. He's taking the old Bill Parcells adage. If I'm gonna, if you want me to cook the food, let me shop for the groceries. He's taking that to heart. So
yeah, he definitely
big up to
doing
him for that. But what I will say is I don't understand keeping Ryan Matthews. I know they agreed in principle to the deal before they got Murray, but I wouldn't have kept him. I would have used that money for a defense or maybe a receiver, and then draft a running back at 20 because you can get a great running back, or even in the second or third round, you can get a great running back. Murray was a third-round pick.
Well, they're trying to trade Evan Mathis now, so they're probably going to shed some more salary cap space. That's another thing I don't understand, though. We're getting all these running backs, but you didn't give up your 2 guards, where you're trying to give up your second guard on a very good offensive line. I want to address
that. I know the Eagles were number 1 by the ratings, but like B. Austin pointed out, that was a lot to do with Shady, but also DeMarco does not fit the Eagles blocking scheme as well as it may appear on paper. He's a straightforward runner. Therefore, he needs power offensive linemen. He needs smash mouth downhill power offensive linemen, which the Cowboys had abundance of. The Eagles have more quick clapping.
But they do some zone blockings though, and he finds he's one cut though. He's not doing all that shady stuff.
Let's see. I mean, Shady wasn't doing that shady stuff last year either. Shady was doing the Humpty dance.
Because the Eagles couldn't block. I mean, I know what the numbers say, but they were.
Listen.
I don't know though. I don't know. If you look at a lot of that film, man, sometimes the holes were there, and Shady.
Exactly. Because when the balls got in and ran straight, it was like, hold on, why ain't Shady running straight?
Yeah, we running the same plays.
And here's one other thing that I'll say about Murray that they're going to have to work on. He's not a good pass blocker. And you talked about the trouble the Eagles had with pass blocking.
Gore was our last chance at that. Gore was he was good for that. Phil, hey, but we got to try to squeeze 2 more calls in. Yeah.
Yeah, so Phil, salute to you. Thanks for the call. Everybody check out Phil or Tissue on the Tape podcast, which is also on the War Room Sports Podcast Network. Phil, salute, homie. Thanks for the call.
Do y'all think?
All right, man.
Let's get JT ranked
Yo,
five.
why everybody
Chicago.
always call us in the last 15 minutes of the show? What's wrong with y'all? I know we were a little late on it today, but y'all could have called.
Actually, they've been waiting for us. They've been waiting for us. It's our fault. JT, what's good?
Just today.
Hey, what's
up,
good,
JT?
man? What's good? What's going on?
JT,
Hey, man, you know what?
top
Great
5
show.
sports, Chicago. We try and get Chicago on the network too. What's your thoughts, man?
Hey, listen, you know what? I want to talk to Andrew Smith again because I need to get that negotiation tactic. When I work with my wife, I need to list everything that I need so that I can get 1 or 2 things off that list. I need to talk to him because that'll work. Now, I learned something there. But I want to say one thing. I think Chip Kelly did an excellent job. I know Eagles fans at first were jumping off the ship, but he did an excellent job. He made moves, and I can only hope that our Chicago Bears would even think about making moves like that. I know Shady was the guy, but, you got Murray, you got Matthews, you got Sproles. For a defense to have to prepare for 3 different running backs is a tough thing to do on any level of football. So I think the Eagles are going to be fine if they can pick up a receiver. They'll be great. The quarterback situation, I just touch on that really quickly. I'm not sure if Bradford's health is not in order. I heard the mad scientist talk about the offense at Oklahoma. He did run a similar offense, and that would be great, but his knee has to hold up. So if that doesn't hold up, it's a bad deal. I like Foles. I wish he was in a Bears uniform.
Yeah, I like Foles too. Yeah, I like Foles too, man. I like Foles too. I was sorry to see him go, but JT, man, thank you for your call. We appreciate it. We're gonna, we'll be in touch. We're still trying to work that out with you. So,
we need you on War Room Sports Podcast Network, my brother.
Hey, and matter of fact, and we'll be out in Chicago. We'll be out in Chicago on the 28th of April. Matter of fact, I'll give you a call soon. What we're going out there for is probably something that'll interest you as well. So I'll talk to you soon. All right, bro.
Well, we are doing. Okay, yeah, we'll talk.
All right, cool.
All right. JT is of the opinion that scared money don't make money, so shot the Chip for making moves is basically what he said. He trying something instead of real quick though, all the way out.
He trying something instead of doing nothing.
Rob out in Cali. Rob, we got like 30 seconds, man. Gotta make it quick.
Very pissed about Shady leaving. What do you think about DeMarco?
I guess he says Bielsa said that Sam Bradford was, came from Mr. Glass. This will be Mr. Glass's brother. They're both related.
Hey, Rob, real quick.
That's all I was saying.
I was saying earlier this week that Chip Kelly is like the Statue of Liberty. The little quote on the Statue of Liberty, like "Give us you're tired, you're weary, you're wounded." That's Chip Kelly's motto because everybody he's picked up has an injury history. Not everybody, but Ryan Matthews, Bradford, Murray. Who else? Kiko Alonso. Everybody. But go ahead, make your point. My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off.
This is not. Forget the scheme. This is football. This is not college football. You can't run the spread all the time. If he has to change his offense, he got to change his offense the same way, or Miles' offense the same as New England Miles' offense too. New England and the Philadelphia Eagles, they basically run the same offense, except New England's not with the whole screenplays and all the other junk that Chip Kelly tries to do, but he won't do that.
Well,
I actually think we don't run enough screenplays anymore. I don't think we run screenplays like we should, especially when we have Shady and Sproles.
We run bubble screens.
Yeah, to Riley Cooper. And I'm faster than him. Hey, but Rob, man, we off the air in about 30 seconds, man. Y'all got to call in early. I know this week it was a little bit our fault. But thanks for your call, man, as usual. And we'll talk to you next week. And we're going to talk all this stuff a little earlier in the show, man. So peace.
Peace.
All right, man.
Yo, man, that's crazy. So many moves. Man, we had an action-packed show with all our guests. And everybody, we didn't really get into, Darrelle Revis backing the truck up.
The stick-up kid?
Yet again.
We got to take this. We had to take YouTube. Because everybody, Darrelle Revis is a stick-up kid. You know what I'm saying? So
get down or lay down.
Jim, I heard, if he makes it through this contract, right? I think he got a 3-year deal. If he makes it through this contract, they say he would have made $125 million playing football because he bets like yo, he every year he like, look, like, okay,
his backload.
Give me a small deal with a big signing deal.
Yo, who is his agent, man?
Kid. Him and
He's
Sue,
definitely
man.
a stick-up kid. These young boys be wilding. All his money in violence. Yo, Darrell Reeves is a stick-up kid. That's all I want to say, man. Yo,
Dominican Sue, $114 million with a $60 million guarantee. He getting elite quarterback money, not just quarterback. He getting that elite money.
He getting that. I crush the pocket.
Yo, Reeves does
he
this.
crushing.
Quarterback.
He crushing Flacco's deal. Crushing.
Reeves plays quarterback, yo.
No, I'm talking about Sue. I'm talking about Ndamukong.
I know that, but I still can't believe that Reeves gets this kind of money every year. He like renegotiates. Yo, it don't even matter
every
the contract.
Masking the gun. All right. We got to take this to the TV this week, man. We got to take this to War Room Sports TV because we got a lot to talk about, man.
Yeah, man. Everybody, thanks for joining us in the War Room, good people. Shout out to everybody in the chat room, those on Facebook and Twitter, and all the callers who chimed in to holler at us. Tune in next week, same time, same place, live right here or on demand, the WRS Podcast Network. We'll talk more NFL, some basketball. You know, March Madness is approaching, and, you know, a lot more. We'll talk more about Revis, a.k.a. Rafe the Stick-Up Kid. So until then, enjoy College Basketball Championship Week, Selection Sunday, and we'll see you right back here next time. Catch our conversations on Facebook, Twitter. All of our social media can be found at warroomsports.com. And any information you're looking for in terms of the podcast network, the War Room Sports TV, everything, warroomsports.com. Until next time, everybody, don't accept mediocrity. Be steadfast in that war against ignorance. And we'll see you chumps on top.
6 to 8. Yeah. War Room Sports. Y'all ready? Let's go. Stay in tune to Jimmy. Know the blueprint. Every Thursday, 6 to 8, they do this. Shout out to Dev, PJ, B. Austin, Doc Bay on replay. WarRoomSports.com. Get that mobile app. If not, dial 323-140012. They be going and you sensitive, then oh well. Physical podcast, let's talk sports. Showtime like Magic in the box course. Listen live, push 1 to join in. Rip your team or listen for your enjoyment. Hip-hop scholars, pit stop and knowledge. Should be in sports credits, I ain't talking college. 5 guys, no beef though. Corporate secret, but the streets know. Belafonte, I got a G flow. KC royalty, I'm in beast mode. 2 hours, get your game up. Who's the best in sportscast? You better name us. War Room Sports. Yeah, you know, Jimmy, Dev, DJ, Shot Back, B. Austin. I'm Chop. Up and coming on the beat.
War Room Sports. www.warroomsports.com. What? Ain't no more to it.